அருட்பெரும் ஜோதி அருட்பெரும் ஜோதி தனிப்பெரும் கருணை அருட்பெரும் ஜோதி எல்லா உயிர்களும் இன்புற்று வாழ்க கொல்லா நெறியே குவலயமெல்லாம் ஓங்குக. திருவருட்பிரகாச வள்ளற்பெருமான் அருளி செய்த சுத்த சன்மார்க்க நெறியினை பல்வேறு நூல் வடிவங்களாக ஆக்கி எளிமையாக எல்லோருக்கும் புரிய வண்ணம் ஆக்கி தந்தவர்கள்தான் திண்டுக்கல் சுவாமி சரவணானந்தா அவர்கள் வடலூர் சத்தியஞான சபையின் தத்துவ விளக்கம் என்ற ஒரு அற்புதமான நூலினை வெளியிட்டிருந்தார்கள். முதல் பதிப்பு 1939 ஆண்டிலே இந்த தத்துவ விளக்கம் வெளியாகியுள்ளது. டெம்பிள் ஆஃப் டிவைன் விஸ்டம் என்று அதற்கு ஆங்கிலத்திலே அவர்கள் பெயரிட்டிருந்தார்கள். அந்த புஸ்தகத்திலே ஒரு ஆங்கில உரையினை அவர்கள் எழுதியிருக்கிறார்கள். அன்பர்களின் தகவலுக்காக ஒலி வடிவிலே அந்த ஆங்கில சிறு விளக்கம் தரப்படுகின்றது. Temple of Wisdom. By the omnipresent attribute of God, He must be existing everywhere. Before seeing Him, we must have the real knowledge of Him, because He is not in any form of a person or a thing which we can perceive by our physical eyes. The Spirit of omnigrace, omniscience and omnipotence is His real form, and that Divine Spirit alone is evolving from the innermost of every particle in the whole universe. Therefore, what all we see here is not the form of Him, and at the same time nothing comes to exist in the universe unless that Divine Spirit works from the innermost. This knowledge of Divine Spirit is blossoming in us now, and so we are able to acknowledge Him in and out of everyone. This omnipresent knowledge of God never comes to light in any life other than human one. This human form is evolved out of a small particle of an organic cell containing the soul of the Divine Spirit. The Divine Soul atom is extending all forces from the center of the head. This soul atom with the Divine Spirit forms the basic point of the embryonic creation from which all our spiritual, vital, intellectual, mental and physical beings have been developed to the present stage. Hence, our real and whole being is the development of the Divine Spirit from the innermost. With this supreme realization, we are to live in this world a blessed life of bliss divine. Till now, we were unaware of our true self of Divine Spirit. Ignoring our divinity, we were holding ourselves as physical beings only to live a sensuous life and pass away. In this sensuous life, all the experiences we got have now brought us above the barbarous, civilized, religious, social and scientific levels. And now we are standing before the entrance of divine truth. In the past, we were living with the guidance of external preceptors, and we were praying and worshipping in the outer temples. Even our master yogis and jnanis tried to reach the Godhead from the outside, that is, from physical to the spiritual state. In their final stage, they vanished into nothingness. Now, we have to consider ourselves in real relation to the Divine Self. Since the Divine Spirit has become all our soul, life and body, in fact, we are nothing but the Divine Self unfolded. With this soul knowledge, we are to make our life anew. To choose this soul life, is the real wisdom of man. Any amount of knowledge except the soul truth cannot make a man truly wise. Our wisdom temple is not like any other divine seats of the world. In the worldly temples, one can expect to get a sensuous mental gratifications by faith and earnest devotion. The sensuous side of man does not know the highest eternal bliss obtainable through practical life of true wisdom. Because the outer temples and their divine representations are only external symbols of the true ones in the internal. In this human form is glowing the divine soul atom on the top of medulla oblongata. This soul atom is represented as Godhead, while the surrounding body is the temple itself. As the soul God resides fully in the center of the head, its fractional and infinitesimal matters and forces have come out to play in and out of man. Therefore, one cannot expect to draw more valuable divine power either from the six nervous center, six adhars inside the body. Hence, it is wise to get the head spot to have a direct contact with the divine self. Here comes the wisdom with its soul God of infinite grace. The temple of wisdom at Vadalur in the Madras state, now Tamil Nadu, is spreading its gracious light to enlighten the whole world. In this temple, the divine light of infinite grace is shining from the altar in the center. All the surrounding structures are to represent the spiritual, intellectual, vital, and physical objects of our being. The main entrance of our inner wisdom temple is at the root of the nose between the eyebrows. A real aspirant who eschews the carnal sensual pleasures and who earnestly demands the divine grace is entitled to gain entrance to this temple with the pure concentrated mind. At the root of the nose, one is to pray for God to grace him. As the spirit of this grace develops in man, all the screens hiding the divine light will be gradually removed. At the end, he comes face to face and eventually becomes that light itself. Now, the man feels he is none other than that light itself. But he knows, though he is that divine atom, he has not been empowered to taste the life of bliss. Hence, he is to make a life of divine grace from that inner center. In order to get this gracious life in practical experience, the Wisdom Temple of Vadalur has been built out along with the institutions for feeding the poor and educating the aspirants. Though the feeding section only is working continuously without any interruption, the education section is not kept up as it was intended. So, the truth of this temple and its worship is not understood by the devotees and the general public. Other temples of the world, though present architectural and sculptural attraction, are not intended for reaching the highest goal of divine life. Mainly, our South Indian temples are constructed after elementary basic secrets of physical and vital bodily structure. So, the entrances to these temples are at the foot point only. In a lying position, the foot is away from the divine center. So, in the temple architect, the sanctum sanctorum is put up on the opposite end of the main structure. This is to be noted here to have the divine altar in the center of our wisdom temple. Only the dissolution of man was the end in all the old temple system. On the other hand, our wisdom temple alone is to make the man to live a gracious life of eternal bliss. Swami Ramalingam Tiruvuruprakasa Vallalar is not only the founder of this temple of wisdom, but also is the first man to exemplify in practical experience that divine life of grace. He was born to bring out that new divine life to this world. By the grace of God, he got the knowledge of his true self, which is not other than the divine one. From that stage of divine oneness, he extended the life of grace upon this material world. In due course, his inner form of divine gracious self burst and filled to make him the person or divine gracious light or Tiruvuruprakasa Vallalar. The divine light form is eternal, but will be living in casual, subtle and gross or Jnana, Pranava and Suddha bodies to uplift the aspirant humanity. Because he is of divine gracious person, he can come to sight of others only at his will and anywhere. It is he who attracts us from our innermost to acknowledge him and all his attainment. To aid us, he has endowed this temple of wisdom and the highest literature of divine grace called the Tiruvuruppa. With all these inner and outer guidance, this book of wisdom temple is published to enlighten the whole humanity. Let this open the entrance of the inner temple of wisdom of everyone and offer the gracious life of bliss. Swami Sarvanananda, திண்டுக்கல். அருட்பெருஞ்சோதி அருட்பெருஞ்சோதி தனிப்பெரும் கருணை அருட்பெருஞ்சோதி தயவு